Morning, Kenny. How are you? Morning, guys. How are you, everyone? Morning. Morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the 2021 City of Westfield Veterans Day Ceremony. I am Eric Volk, our Master of Ceremony. The officer of the day is Keith Bookhout from the Westfield Marine Corps League. On the field today is the Westfield High School Band under the direction of Patrick Kennedy. The veterans of foreign wars and their auxiliary from Southwick, Post 872. The Vietnam Veterans of America, Westfield, Chapter 219. The Marine Corps League, Westfield, Detachment 141, and the Young Marines. The American Legion, Westfield, Post 124, to include the American Legion Auxiliary, the Sons of the American Legion, and the American Legion Riders. It is an honor to have with us today Massachusetts State Senator John Velas, Massachusetts State Representative Kelly Pease, Mayor of Westfield Don Humison, members of the City Council of Westfield. Mayor.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, honored veterans. It's my pleasure to right now introduce the members of our City Council, starting here with Councilor Dave Flaherty, Councilor Bridget Matthews-Kane, Councilor Dan Alley, Councilor Ralph Figge, Councilor Rick Sullivan, Councilor Nick Morganelli, and Councilor Cindy Harris. Have I missed any of our fellow councilors? Okay, good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem. Officer of the Day.
Commanders, bring your units to attention. Under guard. Present. Who?
Please join us in your prospective faith as Richard Alekna from Chaplain of American Legion Post 124 leads us in the invocation.
On this day, Veterans Day, we are commemorating the services of veterans of all wars. Let us pray. O God of hosts, we bow our heads in thankfulness for the victories thou hast granted us. To us and those peoples who have united with us to stamp out the evils of aggression, intolerance, and greed. Grant us too, O God, the courage to so live with the families of nations around the world that the end of strife will be the beginning of enduring peace. Touch thou the souls of people in every land with the enduring light of wisdom so that they may form a brotherhood of peoples which will survive to further the arts of peace under laws and ethics, blessed by thy love. Grant us now thy continued blessing upon unity and strength that makes victories possible in war, that we may win greater victories of peace. Amen.
Please be seated. In the words of our recently passed Secretary of State and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Colin L. Powell, the nation owes a great debt to its veterans, whose service to the nation spans every decade, every year, every day of our country's existence. Through untold courage and sacrifice, America's veterans have secured the liberty which the Founding Fathers sought to establish here in the New World. Whenever, wherever the nation is called, in times of darkness and danger, as well as times of peace and prosperity, America's veterans have been there. Veterans have proudly carried the torch of liberty for all to see. From the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas, since the Commonwealth's colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in the defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas, on November 11th, 1918, the armistice was signed in the forest of Campania by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars, after 4 years of conflict. And whereas, since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas, there are approximately 388,000 veterans living in Massachusetts. And whereas, today, we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country. And whereas, we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas, it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And whereas, in November 2021, the world will commemorate the 103rd anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2021 to be Veterans Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 11th day of November in the year 2021, and in the independence of the United States of America and the 245th. Signed, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth. Karen E. Polito, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth. William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker, United States Navy retired Chief Petty Officer Cindy Lacoste. She is a trustee at the Soldiers' Home at Holyoke, a member of the Westfield Veterans Council, a past commander of the American Legion, Post 124 here in Westfield. She continues to serve in the American Legion at the city, county, state, and national level. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Petty Officer Cindy Lacoste, retired.
It's sad when you start getting old and you have to wear glasses. This is something new for me. Thank you and welcome everybody. Good morning. Senator Velas, Representative Mayor Humison, Representative Pease, I'm sorry. I'm very nervous right now. And my fellow veterans and everyone else that has come out today to celebrate Veterans Day. Thank you for showing up. It's amazing. I love seeing the crowd here today. Military service by nature is temporary. The legacy of that service, however, can benefit generations for centuries. Veterans Day as Eric just said, can be traced back to the armistice in World War I. And although that piece of that treaty did not survive the fascist tyrannies of Hitler and Mussolini, the freedom enjoyed by Europeans today is the result of the service and sacrifice made by millions of U.S. servicemen and veterans. It is the legacy of those who have worn the uniform of the United States, a legacy of freedom. It is a legacy that has spread the globe. By virtue of your attendance today, it is clear that you hold our nation's heroes in high esteem. But how many of their stories do we all know? First Lieutenant Ralph Puckett, Jr. was a commanding officer of the 8th Ranger Company, 82nd 13th Army Unit, 8 U.S. Army. Outnumbered and seriously wounded twice by the enemy in Unsan, Korea during a 2-day battle in 1950, he continued to lead his company of Rangers through machine gun fire in order to capture objectives and direct artillery. When his wounds prevented him from moving, he told his soldiers, "Just leave me behind so that you can withdraw." Despite his objections, his soldiers dragged him from the hill to a position of safety. Lieutenant Puckett would survive the battle and eventually retire in 1971 as a colonel in the U.S. Army. Even his lengthy military career was temporary when compared to the legacy that still continues in Korea. Without the sacrifice of veterans, including Colonel Puckett, freedom and democracy we enjoy today couldn't have blossomed in Korea, quoted South Korean President Moon Jae-in earlier this year during a White House ceremony in which Colonel Puckett received his well-deserved Medal of Honor from President Biden. Another distinguished hero, the late Admiral Jeremiah Denton, spoke of the long but temporary ordeal he experienced as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. "If I had known when I was shot down that I would be there for more than 7 years, I would have died of despondency, of despair. But I didn't. It was 1 minute at a time, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 year, and so on. If you look at it like that, anybody can do anything," unquote. That type of toughness, commitment, and perseverance is not unusual among veterans. Their exploits are legendary. Finally, the story of Army Private First Class Monica Lynn Brown. PFC Brown was a combat medic assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division when she was deployed to Patika Province, Afghanistan. On April 25, 2007, a roadside bomb tore through her convoy, wounding 5 soldiers. After the explosion, the 19-year-old Brown ran through insurgent gunfire and used her body to shield her wounded comrades, while mortars fell less than 100 yards away, her citation reads. As veterans, we are actually aware of the sacrifices made by our service members. The military further said that her bravery, unselfish actions, and medical aid rendered under fire saved the lives of her comrades and represents the finest traditions of heroism in combat. Her bravery and actions in the remote southeastern Afghan province would lead her to become the first woman to earn the Silver Star in Afghanistan, and just the second woman to do so since World War II. Again, the exceptional in the extraordinary. These are just 3 stories. 3 stories from the millions that are out there to be told and to be heard. So before you leave here today, I have something to ask you. Find someone here or a veteran you know and ask them to tell you their story. Every single woman and man who has raised their right hand and pledged to give their life for their country if needed did so for a reason. Ask them their why. These stories and memories of ours are powerful. They are one of the most powerful weapons in securing a future for those that will follow us. As veterans, we're acutely aware of the sacrifices made by our fellow service members. We're equally aware of the cost of those sacrifices. We know the value and lessons that the military service bestowed upon us, and these are the things that we cannot afford to lose over time. Camaraderie, warrior ethos, esprit de corps, all words we can use to describe what it means to be a veteran and to have served in our nation's military. In each other, we find community. We find it at the American Legion Post, VFWs, Marine Corps Leagues, and the Vietnam Veteran Chapters, among other service organizations. We find it in the familiar decal on the rear window of a car passing us by. We often see ourselves in each other. But there's more to our story. How many of us that have served come home and instead of putting our uniform and our service behind us, continue to serve our brothers and sisters? All the military service organizations I just named do just that. They were created by veterans to ensure that those returning from war were taken care of in a multitude of ways. Today, the service continues, and it's not done to gain accolades or public praise, but because it is the right thing to do. I hope that it helps others to ask that question: what can I do to help? It's important that we remind all veterans that their service matters, and we should remind them even more so that their well-being matters just as much. You can show your support for these great men and women by hiring a veteran in your workforce or in your workplace, by patronizing a veteran-owned business, or donating to a veteran program. Or you can simply say thank you to them for their service. For many veterans, our nation was important enough to endure long separations from their family, miss the births of their children, freeze in sub-zero temperature, or bake in wild jungles, lose limbs, and all far too often lose their lives. Fewer than 10% of Americans can claim the title veteran. And right now, less than 0.5% of our population currently serves. Veterans have given us freedom, security, and the greatest nation on earth. It's impossible to put a price on that. So to those who came before me, to those who I had the privilege to serve with, and to those who have followed, thank you. Thank you for your selfless service, as today we honor those who have worn our nation's uniform. God bless you all for being here. God bless our veterans, and God bless these United States. Thank you.
And now some words from the Westfield Mayor, Don Humison.
Ladies and gentlemen of Westfield, distinguished colleagues, and honored veterans, that was a tough act to follow. Thank you for your words, Suniti. Well done. As mayor of the city for just a little while longer, I want to bring the greetings of the city of Westfield and also the thanks and appreciation to all of you who came out this morning. If you remember, a year ago, our city and the state and the country was gripped in the pandemic, and so we weren't able to do a Veterans Day observance in the same way. This year, it's gratifying to see so many of the people from our community here. Mr. Kennedy, it's always a pleasure to see and hear our Westfield High School band. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Nice work. I'd also like to add thanks to those people who were involved today in the parade. I want to say thank you specifically to Julie Barnes, our Veterans Service Officer, to the members of the Veterans Council, to the people in the Park and Rec Department, DPW, who have really done yeoman's work to bring Parker Park up to speed. The park where we are today is an old park and has, it's suffered some of the ravages of time. And so there were some requests on behalf of the veterans for the city to do some work to make it more accessible for people to come into the park and to make it a little more comfortable. And if you look around, it's not so much even what you see, but what you don't see that shows all the work that was done to make the entrance to the park and the benches and everything around us a little bit better. So thank you to everybody who worked so hard to bring Parker Park up to speed and make it so beautiful. And finally, I just want to say, both personally and on behalf of the city, thank you to each and every one of you who have served your country. Thank you for allowing us to gather on this Veterans Day to honor you. Thank you for all you have done and will continue to do. We will always remember, and we certainly appreciate your efforts on our behalf. Thank you. Have a great Veterans Day. Good morning.
And now a few words from Massachusetts State Senator John Vilas. If you take a look above, we have a flyover from some historic aviation.
And here I was going to claim that air show was for me today. I made a mistake several years ago, and I made a mistake to hang out with a bunch of United States Marines on their birthday. And I promised myself I'd never do that again, but I think we'd all be remiss if we didn't wish our battle buddies from the United States Marine Corps a happy belated birthday from yesterday. You know, what is Veterans Day? I mean, I don't think I look out here right now and I see all these veterans groups. I see elected officials. I see a band. I see kids running around. In short, what I see is our way of life. This, at the most fundamental level, is our way of life as Americans. And I think you have to ask yourself the question every now and again, how is our way of life preserved? And I have an answer to that question without any hesitation or without any reservation. Our way of life is preserved by the men and women who have decided to walk into a recruiting station or be drafted or however they found themselves in the United States military to raise their hand. That's how our way of life is preserved. I was thinking the other day about an experience I had, and I want to pay particular attention to a group to my right. And we have so many veterans groups here today, but I want to focus on one to my right here, the Vietnam veterans. I have frequently said that the way that we as a nation treated our returning Vietnam veterans will go down in history as one of the most disgraceful things this nation has ever done. They were spit at. They were afraid to wear their uniform. They weren't told welcome home. None of the above. And I go back in my mind and I think about my recent experience, my recent deployment in 2018 to Afghanistan when I returned home. We flew into, and I can never pronounce this place, Bangor or Bangor, Maine, whatever it is. And we arrived, and it's the first time that you arrive in American soil from your deployment. You get off the bird and you walk into that hangar, and my experience anyway, there was about 100 veterans on both sides, all Vietnam veterans, extending their hand saying, welcome home. And that wasn't lost on me. The same group of veterans who never had that experience, who never had that welcome home, were the ones extending their hand saying, welcome home to us. And I just think that's absolutely remarkable. And if you look at all of the advocacy in America today, most of the best work on behalf of veterans is being done by Vietnam veterans. So from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of our heart, welcome home. If you look at what makes a young man or young woman join the military, I think it's different for every reason. I think that at some level there's a desire to serve your nation. And I think a lot of people think that there's going to be potentially some type of fighting for your nation. And I constantly think about that. And I think as we go back a few months ago to the exit from Afghanistan, what we saw young Marines, young soldiers, young service members across the board doing things that really they never signed up for. They were playing the role of social worker, looking out into the crowd, looking for people that they were going to bring on to HKIA to bring home to America, people that had served by us, people, linguists, family members, etc. I don't know why those Marine soldiers, airmen, and sailors signed up, but I can guarantee you that probably wasn't on their mind, that they were going to be in that position at some point in time. And they did that, and they did it without reservation. And 13 of them got killed doing just that. Today's not Memorial Day, today's Veterans Day. But what I took from that event was that our service members today, more so than any point in their time, are peacekeepers, they're diplomats, they're social workers. They do so many things that they weren't necessarily trained to do. And that is absolutely fascinating. I was reading a quote from the second President Bush the other day, and he said something interesting. And I've heard this before, and I remember him saying it. And it was right after 9/11. And he said that the United States Army is at war. but Americans are at Walmart. And I thought it was a fascinating, fascinating dichotomy right now. We have this environment right now where the military-civilian relations are getting wider. And we're blessed because of that. Because with very few exceptions, all of the conflicts that we have been involved in as a nation are overseas. We get to carry on with our lives. We get to do this stuff. We get to go to the mall. We get to join and celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc., while our service members are overseas. And I think of this one incident in 2018, and I think I may have said this before, but it was so powerful to me for the lesson that it taught me. I woke up one morning, and this is back in Afghanistan, and I hear this loud, loud, loud bang. And long story short, what it was that an ISIS-K, who we all know their name now, ISIS-K, the same group responsible for killing our service members in August, had gone into a girls' school and killed 60-something young girls who were preparing for what is our equivalent of the SAT exam. It's the most brutal thing I'd ever heard of. And I remember I talked to, at my time, my then girlfriend, my now wife, and she answered the phone. And I said, "Don't worry, everything is okay." And I remember she had no idea what I was talking about. And that was a really powerful lesson for me. We as Americans have been blessed that all of that stuff happens over there. It doesn't happen over here. And our debt and the way that we pay that back is to recognize that as a nation, all of this stuff, the ability to gather here today in these times of political division that I would say are unprecedented, we are able here to gather today and have these debates. Who's right, who's wrong, because of the men and women who have raised their hand to defend this nation. I will frequently look at recruiting numbers. And to me, the best sign that there is America on the wrong path? Is America doing things right, wrong, etc.? America, as a nation, will be okay as long as young men and young women are willing to raise their hand and potentially pay the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our way of life, to preserve this. Thank you so much.
And now some words from Massachusetts State Representative Kelly Pease.
Yes, I get the joy of following Senator Vilas and giving a speech. He's always so eloquent. But it's, again, I'd like to just say good morning, happy Veterans Day. And I, too, would like to thank the Vietnam Veterans Chapter 219, Legion Post 124, the Marine Corps League 141, and Young Marines. And yes, happy belated birthday, Marines. Along with all the other organizations here to support this event. This day is special to me as a veteran, and last year's Veterans Day ceremony was my first official event after being elected as your state representative, which just adds to my appreciation of this day. And again, the city of Westfield and the people support veterans, not just this day, but all throughout the year. And I know as a veteran, I speak for most veterans, that we really appreciate the city of Westfield. And unlike Memorial Day, which pays tributes to those who have fallen for our country, Veteran Day honors those who have given not just those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, but all veterans, past and present. It doesn't matter about your service, how long you served, whether you're on active duty, the reserves, National Guard. When you join the military service for any amount of time in any capacity, you sign up to put your life on the line to defend our country and the values we hold true. In my 20 years in the Army, I've met veterans from all over the United States, whether when I was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Korea, Haiti, Fort Hood, Texas, Macedonia when we were bombing Kosovo, Germany, Fort McPherson, Georgia, Kuwait, where I was sitting during 9/11, England, Iraq, Afghanistan, or in the Washington, D.C. area. And not all the soldiers I got to know came home. Some gave the ultimate sacrifice. Today, we remember and celebrate all veterans. We remember those who didn't come home and those that signed up to fight for our country and are still with us today. So happy Veterans Day to all that have served and are serving, and a special thanks to the families who have supported and are supporting our veterans. Thank you all for your service, and God bless the United States of America.
At this time, unit commanders, please assemble at the World War II monument for the presentation of the wreath. It is fitting that we honor the service and sacrifice of veterans that are no longer with us today. Please just give us one moment for them to assemble. Please stand and remain silent for the presentation. The music provided by veteran Fred Benda on the bagpipes, followed by the volley of fire, followed by the playing of taps.
All units, and hey!
Officer of the day, bring the units to present arms.
Sergeant at Arms, take charge of your unit. Work, hurt. Ready, face. Aim, fire. Aim, fire. Aim, fire. Ready, face. Present. Hurt. Present. Hurt.
We would like to thank all the individuals and organizations that have contributed to the Westfield Veterans Day Parade and Veterans Day ceremony. First, the Westfield High School Band, exceptional job. Thank you very much. The Veteran Foreign Wars, Southwick, Post 872. The Vietnam Veterans of America, Westfield, Chapter 219. The Marine Corps League, Westfield Detachment 141. And the Young Marines. American Legion Post 124 to include the Auxiliary Sons and Legion Riders. The Westfield Police Department and Fire Department. Westfield Veteran Service Officer Julie Barnes. Other law enforcements, other departments of the city of Westfield that have helped make this happen. The Scout Troops, Purple Heart Trail. And at this time, please again, join us in your prospective faith as Lori Greenlee of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 219, leads us in the benediction.
O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, be thou our guide while troubles last and our eternal home. I give you thanks with my other fellow veterans for the privilege of serving, and we entrust to your care the young Marines who stood on the field just opposite our group today. Safeguard their hopes and dreams and watch over them in every way. We entrust ourselves to your care in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen.
Thank you. That was Fred Benda with the Bells of Dunblane. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that today we have at least one veteran from World War II. In the center, a veteran from the Marine Corps who served in the Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Thank you all for your participation. Enjoy this wonderful day that we have today, Veterans Day. Officer of the Day, please dismiss all units and guests.
Commanders, make time to yield units and dismiss them. On guard.
Dick Trusty was born in Westfield, Massachusetts in 1928. He enlisted in the U.S. Navy in 1945 after completing training at Camp Peary in Williamsburg, Virginia. Dick was assigned to Airship Wing 1 Blimp Squadron ZP-12 at Lakehurst, New Jersey. U.S. Navy lighter-than-air dirigibles were used primarily for anti-submarine patrols and convoy escort duty alongside the eastern coastline of the United States during World War II. A fleet of 134 airships escorted 89,000 ships during the war. Not one ship was lost. This ZNPK-28 K-28 Puritan is the airship control car for K-type blimps, built by Goodyear between 1938 and 1944. This K-28 control car was built in 1942 and discovered in an Akron, Ohio dump. It was brought to the New England Air Museum at Bradley International Airport in Windsor Locks, Connecticut, to be restored and put on display. It is the only World War II style K-ship control car in the world. During the restoration, as layers of paint were removed, the number 28 began to appear. This is the actual airship control car that Petty Officer Richard Trusty served on during the war. Thank you, Petty Officer Richard Trusty, for your service.
I think it's fitting that the post be remembered and that Dick be remembered. And I'm glad that the plaque is actually here at City Hall. The building is open to the public. People wander around here all the time and just discover things. And I like that because people will come by the office and go, I didn't know this was here. I found it. And they'll discover it. Hopefully, long into the future, this plaque is discovered by people wandering through the City Hall. And they'll remember the post. They'll remember the good that he did and remember him as a founder. If I'd had a chance to say this today, I would have said, you know, I've been coming to these events for 30 years as an aide to Mike Knapik, and then as a rep and a senator, and now as mayor. And it was all about the people I got to meet along the way. And Dick was one of the best. And I remember talking to him about his naval service and actually being able to tell friends that I knew somebody who was in a blimp during, you know. So that's really cool. But I'm glad we can remember him. And thank you all, too, for your friendship and for your service.
And thank you for your support over these years.
It's my pleasure.
And I have to tell you, the pandemic has been absolutely dreadful, but the last few years, we've lost so many critical people in 454 that we couldn't function as a group anymore.
I understand
When we
that.
lose people like Bob Greenleaf and Bob Slack, Trusty and Denny Yefko and the few we lost
Great-
over at
great
the
guys, though.
Soldiers Home. I have to tell you, I always had
Billy
the
Chandler.
greatest
Yeah.
amount of
Billy Chandler.
respect. Yeah.
One of our police officers.
Trusty, my goodness, do you know he was an officer for every day the 454 existed? All of us held officer positions, but we didn't do a thing without asking Dick how it should be done. He forgot more than we would ever know about how to take care of an American Legion post. So I hope you're watching today, Dick, because not only, it honors you, my friend, because you kept the post going all by yourself.
He did.
That's true.
And he did anything as long as it was Yankee pot roast.
Wasn't a fan of Chinese food, though.
No.
But anyway, folks, listen, everybody enjoy what's left of Veterans Day, and thank you for today. Thank you for today. Joe, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, guys.